Welcome, everyone. My name is Sanjeev Ganatra, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Sales and Marketing at CBCC Global Research, a global clinical research organization with offices in the US, India, as well as staff located in multiple countries throughout the world. Today, I'm pleased to be able to spend some time with my colleague, Dr. Sandeep Singh, who is the Vice President for Clinical Operations in India and is the head of our clinical operations in India, to spend some time with us and give us an update on some of the new aspects of what takes place on the clinical operations side in India and running a clinical trial there. We're excited to have all of you join us. This is our Around the Globe sessions, and we continue to interview those who impact innovation throughout the pharmaceutical and medical device space. So again, welcome Dr. Sandeep Singh, and we're looking forward to learning from you today.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for arranging this interview. I'm glad to be part of this interaction, and I'm sure this will help our friends located in US and other countries to successfully plan and execute their trials in India.
So let's dive into it. So one of the areas that we want to be able to cover are really concerns that have been raised about, should we run a clinical trial in India? We can run the study in the US, we can run the study maybe in China, we can run the study in Europe. Why India, right? And so today I'd like to pose to you some questions or concerns that have been raised to me in the past, and would like for you to be able to share some updates or some information from your perspective. So let's get started. So the first one obviously is a big one. Give us a sense of what the regulatory environment looks like in India today. Is it even easy to get a study started in India, and what does that look like? What's the regulatory framework look like today? Sandeep?
India's regulatory regime has undergone many changes in the recent past and is really moving towards a mature and competitive level as that of US and Europe. Indian regulations are almost at par with international standards that balance the industry need and ensure the protection of clinical trial participants. Indian clinical institutions and research sites have their own well-developed ethics committees that are similar to the ICH GCP standards.
That's wonderful. And so from a CBCC standpoint, can you share with the audience a little bit about some of the regulatory work that takes place from our standpoint? What is it that we do to help those companies find a pathway through the regulatory environment in India?
As per the new drugs and clinical trial rules, the new guidance published by the DCGI office, the company needs to have a local representative to file their applications for clinical trial NOC and product registrations. CBCC acts as local agent for global clients to facilitate the clinical trial NOC applications. We help the sponsors in designing regulatory strategy to get permission for clinical trial from DCGI office. We submit and track the DCGI applications. We attend SEC meetings on behalf of sponsors where the application is evaluated by medical experts practicing in government hospitals. CBCC has significant experience of attending SEC meetings for various therapeutic areas like oncology, psychiatry, neurology, ophthalmology, dermatology, etc. We add a lot of value in getting the approval from DCGI office with help of our KOL network. We also manage the post-approval changes for the applications.
So that helps from a regulatory standpoint. Let's talk about the next concern that comes up, which is patients. Are there enough patients? Is there sort of a sufficient sense of understanding clinical trials, and what does that look like today compared to the US? Can you give an example of what India's patient population would look like?
Owing to the large population of around 1.3 billion, India has a high rate of participants in clinical trials. The recruitment rate in India is as high as nearly 6 to 7 times of that of in US. A treatment naive patient pool, huge unmet medical need, availability of clinical trial registries and databases makes it easy and convenient place for the global pharmaceutical companies to consider India as their preferred destination for conducting clinical trials. Also, the standard of care practiced in India is similar to the practices in US and other Western world.
So it's good. So a couple of things that I heard that were important. One is obviously the sheer volume of patients that are available. Number one. Number two, though, is that the recruitment rate can be significantly impacted in a positive way by doing a study in India. And then the treatment naive population. So those companies who are looking to find a treatment naive population should look to India there. So Sandeep, we've talked a little bit about the regulatory environment and we've talked from the patient perspective, but what about the staff? What about the facilities? Are they familiar enough with clinical trials? Can a small company be able to come into India and work with CBCC to be able to get in the right sites and be able to get the patients that they're looking for?
India has mix of both public and private hospitals and access to a large pool of qualified, trained and experienced investigators and site staff. India currently has over 700,000 specialty sites, including 221 medical colleges, with highly trained, skillful and experienced English-speaking medical staff and state-of-art infrastructure to facilitate the conduct of clinical trials. Applicants need to only translate the patient-centric documents and rest all documentation happens in English language, which helps in immense cost and time advantage.
Very good. And one of the things that I heard you mention, and I think it's important, is the languages that are available in terms of being able to facilitate in English, speaking companies that want to be able to have that communication, that dialogue as part of their clinical trials. So that's excellent. Thank you. Very good. So now let's shift to data quality. Is data that's coming out of India clinical trials, can it be submitted to the FDA? Can it be submitted to other regulatory bodies? Is that data quality in place there?
Good clinical practices, the international standard of quality, rests on assuring protection of rights, safety, and well-being of trial participants. GCP also helps in ensuring that the data and report results are credible and accurate. India has an excellent record of delivering clinical data that satisfy international regulatory standards. CBCC has been entrusted with over 200 pivotal studies where we hold data quality at very high standards in order to meet international regulatory requirements. A lot of CBCC sites have been inspected by FDA and other regulatory agencies without any data quality concerns.
Great. All right. And then finally, with all of these pieces in place, regulatory, patients, the facilities, and good data quality, are the studies able to run quickly? Are they cost effective? Has that cost benefit kind of gone by the wayside? Can you talk to the efficiency piece?
India continues to be the preferred destination for contract research and clinical trials due to the speedy and cost-effective solutions. A clinical trial conducted in India can be about 50 to 60% cheaper than that in developed countries. A better patient recruitment rate, favorable regulatory framework, and access to the clinical trial resources help facilitate speed of execution, which translates in cost-effective clinical trial execution in India.
Great. Yeah, so it sounds like we've covered 5 key areas, key concerns that clients may have, but why they should be looking at India. And I appreciate your feedback on all of those. Number 1, a strong regulatory environment. Companies can look at and be confident that there's a pathway forward from India to do the studies, as well as data that comes out of India to be able to submit to their local regulatory bodies. It sounds like number 2, there's a patient population, 7 times the recruitment rate with treatment-naive patients. Number 3 is the facilities and their ability to be able to house and support a clinical trial, not just locally, but really throughout the country. And number 4, data quality, being able to match that of GCP regulations and quality standards. And from CBCC standpoint, facilities have met and exceeded the audits that have been done associated with regulatory bodies. And efficiency still stays there in place, and especially, working alongside with us. Sandeep, thank you so much for your dialogue and for the feedback that you've been able to provide today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjeev.
And to all of us, all of you that are listening, certainly engage with us. We'd love to learn more about what it is that you're looking at, both in India, but in other countries as well. CBCC is a global research organization, and we're happy to help. Thank you so much. Take care.